Hey, it's Stevie GB here. Well, like I promised, this is part 2 of writing your stand-up comedy. Now, last time we talked about actually writing, putting words on paper or in a tape recorder. Now, I assume you know how to do that. If you know how to write, if you know how to use words. But do you know how to use words? That's a real question. Wordplay is a big part of comedy. The Marx Brothers used it a lot, used it brilliantly. Puns. Now puns, comics do puns, they're going to get some groans. One-liners, you're going to get groans. That doesn't mean they can't be brilliant. One way I find using words a different way is I go right to the source. I go to the dictionary, or I go to the thesaurus. You young whippersnappers, you probably go to the Google. And I go to Google. I know how to use the Google. Anyway, that's how you find out how to use words differently. Maybe you have a joke and you want to say something a little different. You want to sound a little more intelligent. You find a synonym. Another way is to find the opposite. Opposites of jokes are all about surprise, right? If you use an opposite, you immediately got the element of surprise right in there. These are just things to think about. I'm not going to give you actual jokes. I'm giving you ideas. Use the dictionary. Use synonyms. Use opposites. You'll find that they work. Another thing, there's a lot of rules in comedy. There's one thing they call the rule of 3. And what that is when you tell a joke, you should have 3 different parts of the joke. Maybe I'm not explaining it right. Or you can call them tags. The problem with the rule of 3 and tags that I see is they have to be this. They have to be funny, funnier, and funniest. If you're going to use 3, you got to do them in that order. Otherwise, if the first part of the joke is the funniest part, and the next part is not so funny, you've killed the joke. So you got to be careful with the rule of 3s. And the same thing with tags. You don't want to, if you got a great joke, just stop. Just stop and move on to another joke. Don't get bogged down by these rules. Comedy shouldn't have rules. It should have spontaneity, and it should feel comfortable. If you obey too many of these scientific rules of comedy, I think you're going to sound robotic. You lose that sense of play. You lose that sense of improvisation. Especially if you're a storytelling type of comedian. You want to be engaging the audience. You don't want to sit there and worry about, formatting the joke in the right way. This isn't a textbook. This is supposed to be fun, for crying out loud. All right. Now, the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're, again, I said it before, I'll say it a million times, that you're writing for you. You don't want to start looking at, how to develop a joke based on what you see. You can watch other comedians. I have no problem with that. I think it's a good idea to watch other comedians because then you get a sense of timing. You get a sense of how they develop their act. I can tell if a comedian is a good writer just by watching them on stage. Stay away from, trying to take other people's material and twist it and turn it and make it yours. Don't do that. It shows. I could see right through it. Other comics see right through it. The audience may not, but you're not going to be developing as a comic if you do things like that. The other thing with writing is you want to make sure that you're consistent. And callbacks. I wanted to talk about callbacks. I'm consistent. I don't know what I'm talking about. Callbacks. I love callbacks. If you could develop a callback is when you tell a joke and you tell a punchline, and then later on, 3 jokes later, you call back that punchline. It's clever. It's fun. Comics use this all the time. It works. It works really well. It worked for Larry David. Look at Larry David. His entire series of Curb Your Enthusiasm is one giant callback. He'll call back things from Seinfeld. That's pushing it a little bit. But callbacks are great. It's a wonderful form of comedy. Everybody uses it. Watch for it. Watch how other comedians do it. And work on that. Okay? We're going to talk more about writing in the next episode because it's worth it. Time's almost up. Once again, I only ask that you share this, subscribe, comment, and come to my shows. I'm Stevie GB. Thank you very much. I love you. Goodbye. 2